Hello, my brother.
Hey, Glenn. Nice to finally meet you face to face.
Likewise, my brother. I'm just adjusting my volume a little bit here. I was just in short little meditation, and again, just going over all of your bio and your information and your kind of like a life history. I'm like, this man is another version of me because there are so many parallels and so many
Wow.
consistent things. And I mean, if you see the image behind me, you've got the Native American history of the Navajo. I am deeply interwound with the Hopi tribe.
Wow.
Um, so, being a channel, being a philosopher, being a sort of, this perpetual teaching and learning that never stops.
Wow, I had no idea you had a Hopi contact and background and uh, fantastic. We could talk a lot on that alone.
We could spend, I'm like, I'm gonna have to like pick and choose what I speak with on Ron because we could go down the rabbit hole deep and just, but I really wanted to give my most sincere thanks and appreciation and gratitude for you taking this opportunity to spend some time with me today and giving me the opportunity to kind of exemplify you and all of your great work that you're doing. I'm on the same path where, it's a passion of mine to teach and to inspire. And, one of my main tracks that seems to come into my life this year is to help educate more men on their own spirituality and to dive into the vulnerability of their heart, to explore and lead from that position of that strength, because we've been innately taught that, expressing emotion and using the intelligence of our heart is something that we should have never done. Is do this, do as I say, get up, stop crying, go back to work, right? Or go back to doing whatever.
Right.
And, maybe that had worked in the old paradigm in the old world, but that's not where the new world is going and what it's becoming these days. And we are also the nurturers of this new age and day, and it's important that we lead by example. So, I've taken this on where I really am trying to re-educate the whole male audience and bring men into this work that we do to realize, you're more than the person that is the hunter-gatherer, supplier of potential goods and services, that you are, an important person and facet in this thing that we call life and consciousness.
Indeed, indeed. Well, very well said. um, it does seem like there's a chapter change that's going on in the reality around us. And geez, I remember those days. I grew up in them where, as a male, just get the job done is basically all you are allowed to do. And, sounds like you're very much similar to myself, and you grew up with a lot of sensitivity, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of spirituality, all in the package, and nobody there to talk to you about it.
Right.
um, so you had to do everything on your own.
Yeah.
And
Learned everything, do everything on my own. Same thing with, I have a paramilitary background being in the fire service and, background in law enforcement for such a long time. And, coming out of that mindset completely and changing the way that we do things. And, I was kind of like kicked out of the fire service to really embody this work. But for me, it's been a lifelong process of learning truth. What is truth? What is the truth behind everything? What is the truth behind Egyptian history? What is the truth behind religion? What is the truth behind spirituality? What is the truth of everything, of human existence? And, the more questions I ask, the more answers I get, but the more questions I have. And I've learned that, truth is part of the individual reality in your consciousness. Everything is true. Everything is true.
Well said.
What is true to the way that you are perceiving life right now?
And that's the real main crux for each and every person. Because, our whole society is designed to seek the authority and do everything that they do and try to do it better. And that pretty much limits the pathway with handrails and concrete step-by-step processes down a given direction. But when we came into the reality, especially like for me at an early age, yeah, you're using everything that you can just to fit into the reality, learn the ropes, learn the rules, learn the protocol, and try to get along. And then when something from outside of the 3D reality comes in, and when it does, the rules of the game change. And you feel like, oh my God, this is so powerful. And I don't even feel like I can move. So when that started happening, like for myself at an early age, I saw, oh my God, there's two different things. And what is this one that incurs when it decides and changes all the rules, and you have to pay attention and live up to the rules of the game in that new reality? So I'm like, I like to playfully say I was, split on the reality at an early age. And like you, I felt like I was a very much a sensitive, very vulnerable, almost a female in a male body. What reality holds, the idealistics, the ideal characteristics for a female, it seemed like, oh my God, I have those sensitivities.
Right.
And I wanted, when those things started happening at an early age, I think that's, really hit me that you have to find out the rules of the game for you. And taking a sidestep from the moment that we're talking about now in our early foundation building to now, after having explored a lot of the field, understand some of the science, understand some of the metaphysics, understand some of the quantum, I mean, you start to see every reality is real. Every probability is real. And that's kind of the modus operandi given to each and every one of us. Go do and feel and explore the way you see, feel, and make sense of the reality according to you. Those are the rules, whatever it is to you, but be ready to change at any given moment and update and upgrade.
Right. Give me the download. Give me the download. Give me the download.
So I couldn't talk to like my dad at an early age, at like 3 or 4 years old. I'm sitting at the table. I used to pound my dad with questions, at the dinner table. And finally, on one occasion, I hit him with the one he couldn't answer. And I said, Dad, what are we here for? And he threw his hands up in the air. He thought for a moment, threw his hands up in the air, shook his head, and he goes, "You got me there, son. I don't know. I don't know." And that kind of gets back to what we were talking about. You got to make your own rules. Right. You got what makes sense to you. Of course, don't be stupid. Do the research that you can, wherever it is that you're inclined to go, arts, sciences, whatever it is, go in that direction. But what does it mean to you? and then be ready and willing to make changes. And that's how it began for me. Was, at an early age. I'll tell you this short story.
Go to youtube.com at Stargate Crusader 365 to watch the Ascension Stargate podcast series and get the full episode with Ron Holt.